The German government will defend its own climate policies in court in a landmark case which is the first of its kind in the country. 3 German families have filed legal actions against their government over climate change. The group, made up of organic farmers, claim they've been directly affected by changing weather patterns, and they put the blame on the German state's failure to implement climate targets. With the backing of Greenpeace, the organic farmers' case will come before the Berlin Administrative Court today. Last month, the Chancellor Angela Merkel announced a €50 billion environment package, but critics have argued that this is too little, too late. Our correspondent Jessica Saltz is outside the courthouse for us in Berlin to speak to us. Morning to you, Jessica. First up, what are the accusations being made against the government from these farmers?
Well, Rosie, the German government stands accused of failure to meet its climate targets, which the farmers coming to court today and Greenpeace say amounts to neglect, that these farmers are feeling the negative effects of climate change that's directly affecting their livelihood. Most specifically, the government stands accused of failing to cut emissions according to its 2007 plan of cutting emissions by 40%, CO2 emissions by 40% by 2020 compared to 1990 levels. Now, 2020 is just around the corner and the government's not going to meet that target of cutting emissions by 40%, rather likely only 32%. Greenpeace and these farmers who will be here today say this is not enough. The government must be forced to do more.
So what's been the personal experiences of the farmers who've decided to take this case forward?
Well, there are 3 organic farming families who are going to be coming to court today. They're from different parts of the country, but they've all had really similar experiences when it comes to feeling the effects of climate change in most recent years, from the really dramatic rainstorms in the summer of 2017 that led to flooding on their farms to the severe drought in 2018. This has led to a loss of harvests for them. It's led to a loss of income and, of course, great instability when they look to the future. They're worried about the future of their arable and fertile land, and so this is why they really are bringing this case forward, because they're concerned about the future of their farming communities.
So what is going to happen in court? How long is this expected to take place, and what might the implications be?
Well, we don't know how long this is going to take. This is a very unusual case. The German government being accused of failure to act on climate change. This is expected to be anything other than straightforward. And it's unsure whether or not this case will be successful or not, if and how the German government could be forced to legally implement more measures to target climate change. But also, of course, it's a difficult issue because, as we know, climate change is a global phenomenon. It's a global issue. So even if the German government is forced to stick to tougher climate targets, it doesn't mean that life is necessarily going to get easier for these farmers. So this, of course, is going to be something that's very difficult to prove in court, that the German government itself is at fault.
And over the last year, Jessica, we've particularly seen lots of headline-garnering activities from climate activists, the likes of Extinction Rebellion, Greta Thunberg. Is this strategy, taking the government to court, likely to be more effective?
Well, Rosie, this court case today is extremely symbolic, whether or not it's successful or not. And it, of course, comes the same week as ExxonMobil, the oil and gas giant, is being taken to court in America for failure to tell investors about any costs related to climate change. I think the messages behind court cases, high-profile court cases like this, really are the same, that it has to be up to governments, global governments and also global industry to act, that small incremental changes made by individual citizens on a day-to-day level is not enough. And that's really the message behind this court case. And this is what really has been the message of the protest movements such as Fridays for Future and Extinction Rebellion have been over the last few months. That yes, citizens have to do what they can, but it is governments who have to make massive changes to stick to their climate targets in order to ensure a future for the planet.
And we'll be watching this landmark case as it unfolds. Jessica Saltz, thank you very much, our correspondent live in Berlin.